What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're gonna be getting into editing off-camera flash photos and how to fix hot spots. If you are shooting off-camera flash, you're gonna run into this problem where maybe you're not able to get your flash into the perfect position. So you end up with like a ceiling or like a column or something that's closer to the camera getting way too bright because of your flash. So I'm gonna show you guys a few tips and tricks on how to work around that and get nice, even results on your photos. So thanks for being here. Now let's get into it. All right, so first I wanna talk about while you're actually shooting. For example, we did a photo with the flash holding it up like this, kind of like close to the camera. It was really the only place you could be where you're not in the shot in this instance. So what ended up happening was the right and left side ended up getting pretty blown out just because the flash was like right there at a high power, giving it enough flash to fill in the whole room. So the rest of it looks great, but right close to the camera, everything is way too bright. So what I did while shooting is this. So I just turned off my flash and did the exact same photo because it gives us some of the flexibility to edit down those really bright hot spots in post. Super easy in Photoshop, just takes a couple of steps. All right, so we did everything in Lightroom. We got our images nice and natural and neutral looking. Good exposures for what we're doing. And now we're just going to bring them into Photoshop. So we've got this underexposed image first, and then we've got this one on top. So what we're gonna do is make this full screen. We're gonna go ahead and make this into a layer mask. So you just drag it onto here. This little icon is create a layer mask. And now let's hit B for our brush tool. We can use these little buttons to make it bigger or smaller. Okay, and here's our settings. We've just got it at 16% opacity, turn down the flow a little bit. So when you're doing a layer mask, basically whenever you use the black brush, you paint in black, here's what it does. It just takes away from that layer. And when you're using white, it masks that back in. So it just gives you a little bit more room, flexibility if you mess something up and you want to bring it back in. All right, Command minus to zoom out. So literally all we're gonna do is paint out that overexposed spot, and then what's under there is gonna be details. So we're just gonna keep going until it looks natural how we want it to look. You don't want it to get too dark and look weird, but basically, that's it. Suddenly those details are back. And now I'm gonna get this corner and a little bit on the ceiling. That always comes in handy because the flash got a little bit too bright on the ceiling. Changes the color balance, okay. Okay, there we go. We'll turn it down just a little bit and get the ceiling so that the color balance looks nice and even. Maybe even a little bit here. Honestly, you can even just use this to bring in any detail you want or darken things or just make them look a little more neutral. So I'm gonna zoom in right here. See, we got this little reflection spot on this plate over the fridge that I don't really love because it's totally different color balance. So look, boom. Looks weird for a second, but yeah. Okay, I don't really like that. In concept, that was gonna work well, but let's go back to this, turn this up to 100% to speed it up. And let's just keep that highlight about like that. That's fine. All right, so just like that, let me show you the difference. So we went from this to this. Okay, so we fixed all those spots, pretty easy. I'll make these downloadable for you guys so you can practice on your own. So I'm gonna do the other one just to show you guys how quick it is when I'm not explaining it. It's really fast. And the amount of flexibility that it gives you is definitely worth doing while you're shooting. So brush tool, zoom out, and okay, boom. A little bit much. Turn that back down to where, turn that back down. And really it's just your preference, like whatever brush works for you is fine. Okay. So we're just evening that out. Okay. So I'm mostly just going for evening out the exposure and color balance a little bit. So that's another benefit, is if you get a little bit too much of the blue color balance from your flash, just basically erasing a little bit of it lets you see more of that super yellow layer under it, and that'll even out your color temperature too, which is cool. All right, so I'm gonna boost this just a little bit more. It got a little bit dark. I usually want my image to get a little bit brighter the further away we are from the camera. That just kind of leads the viewer through the image, okay? So that's it. So we'll save that and we're done. And if you don't realize this while you're shooting, you might still be safe if you shoot in RAW. And that's why I always say to shoot in RAW, because you want as much editing flexibility to cover yourself in post as possible. All right, so here's that same photo, and here is what I'll do. I'll create a virtual copy. I have it edited for this main version. And then with RAW, look, you can pull that down and still get all your details here, which is what we want. And let's do the white balance right there. Tone it down a little bit. Colors look kind of funky, but yeah, look. Crazy. It's always so surprising how much detail you can do. So basically, if you're stuck with this image where it looks really, really overexposed, no details, anything, you can get it down to there and then go back into Photoshop and do the exact same process that we just did a lot of the time. Sometimes it's too overexposed to where there's no details left and it's kind of too bad, but I don't know, you might be able to like crop in a little bit or something to get that spot out of your picture, but it is what it is. Also, on top of shooting RAW, it's usually pretty safe to shoot a little bit underexposed so that you do have a little bit of extra wiggle room in those highlights. Sometimes you can save skies, especially if you're shooting like portraits and stuff. People will expose for the skies so that they have that to work with later. Or in this case, if you're shooting with flash, if it gets too bright, you can usually save it. That's it for this one. If you missed the behind the scenes from this photo shoot, make sure to go check it out and see some just problem solving behind the scenes and a little bit more of like how I set up my flashes, how I go from room to room to room and make it a little bit easier and faster on myself while I'm doing these shoots. And that's it. I've talked too much. This was supposed to be a quick video, but I think it's probably gonna be like 10 or 12 minutes. Somehow editing 2 photos can be that long. But Anyways, appreciate you guys for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.